1931, a farmhouse outside Tulsa, Oklahoma. A father watches his 7-year-old daughter burn with fever. The nearest country doctor is 40 miles away, across roads the dust storms have half buried. Gas costs money he no longer has. His wife walks to the kitchen, opens a small wooden cabinet, and pulls out 2 onions, a jar of honey, and a clean cotton cloth. Within 6 hours, the fever breaks. The child sleeps through the night for the first time in 4 days. This is the story nobody tells anymore because the pharmaceutical industry spent the last 80 years making absolutely sure you forgot it. During the Great Depression, by conservative estimates, 1 in every 4 Americans had no regular access to a doctor of any kind. They didn't die in the streets. They survived, with what their grandmothers and great-grandmothers had taught them. 25 of those remedies are so genuinely effective that modern peer-reviewed research has, quietly and without fanfare, confirmed most of them. Some are sold in pharmacies today, rebranded, repackaged, and marked up by thousands of %. Others were pushed into obscurity on purpose because no pharmaceutical company in the world can patent a plant. I am Dr. Leanna, emergency medicine physician for over 15 years, and the daughter of a nurse who learned from her own grandmother. What I am about to share with you is not nostalgia. It is documented clinical fact that your grandmother knew and that your doctor was simply never taught. And the 4th remedy on this list is the one that will shock you most because there's a very strong chance you already used it this week without knowing a single thing about its real history. By the way, thousands of people over the age of 45 have decided that, quote, "you are just getting older" is no longer an acceptable medical answer. They are inside the green vault. The exact protocols their doctors don't have the time to prescribe because the system rewards prescriptions and not healing are in the link in the description. Anyway, let me begin the countdown. Number 25. Catnip tea? Not just for cats. Depression era, mothers brewed it for colicky babies and anxious children, especially through long, cold winter nights. Research published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirms that its mild sedative effects come from a compound called nepentolactone, which calms the same nervous system pathways that modern anxiety medications target. Safer than many pharmaceutical tranquilizers. Free in most gardens, and completely forgotten by anyone under the age of 60. Number 24, red clover. Women during the Depression drank red clover tea through menopause and, in their own words, to purify the blood. Modern research from Columbia University confirms its isoflavones act as natural phytoestrogens, easing the hormonal transitions of the female body with remarkable gentleness. Today, it is sold in capsule form for nearly $40 a bottle in health food stores. Back in 1934, it grew wild along every country roadside in America. Number 23, burdock root. In Dust Bowl, Kansas, farming families boiled burdock root as a spring tonic after winters that had stripped their tables of every fresh vegetable. Japanese researchers working in the 1990s have since confirmed that its arctigenin compounds support liver detoxification pathways in ways that match or exceed several commercial supplements. Let me show you what is really happening. At some point in the last few years, you left a medical appointment with a new prescription in your hand and the quiet, deep feeling that you had not been heard. That was not an impression, that was the system. 7 minutes per consultation, on average, in the United States. In that small span of time, sleep, nutrition, herbs, preventive protocols, root causes, none of that fits. A prescription fits. Nearly 40% of Americans over the age of 65 take 5 or more prescription medications at the same time. Doctors have a name for it, polypharmacy, a disease caused by medicine itself. The pharmaceutical industry generates over $500 billion annually in the United States. The profit comes from chronically sick people, not from healthy ones. There is another path. It has existed quietly for generations inside integrative and traditional medicine. Specialists with decades of clinical practice developed exact protocols: plant, dose, timing, combinations, contraindications, drug interactions. For the 8 most common problems in people over the age of 45, sleep, pain, blood sugar, kidneys, liver, hormones, immunity, metabolism, over 50 guides, every source verifiable, a growing community of members, new protocols released every single month, for less than the cost of a single hour with a private specialist per year. Link in the description or scan the code on screen. Continuing, number 22. Yarrow.Civil War soldiers called it, quote, soldier's woundwort. Depression-era farmers used it to stop bleeding wounds and to break burning fevers that no aspirin could touch. The chemical compound achillein triggers platelet aggregation, which is the medical term for stopping bleeding within minutes when the crushed leaf is applied directly to the wound. Number 21. Boneset. Not for broken bones. The name comes from, quote, breakbone fever, the aching, bone-deep influenza that killed thousands of Americans before antibiotics ever existed, called by generations of country healers the single most reliable fever plant in American medicine. from the swamps of Louisiana up to the cold hollers of Appalachia. Boneset triggers sweating and a strong immune response. Studies from the University of Munich have shown direct antiviral action on multiple strains of the influenza virus. Recent American research has confirmed that its sesquiterpene lactones activate a category of white blood cells called macrophages, the immune system's frontline defenders. One more thing, if you have made it this far into this video, you have probably already tried everything, or you feel like you're just about to. It is not a lack of effort. It is a lack of the exact protocol. Green Vault, link in the description. Continuing to number 20. Mullein leaf, rolled and smoked for asthma, brewed as a strong tea for chronic coughs, also used in warm oil drops for painful ear infections in children. Mount Sinai research has now confirmed its expectorant saponins break up bronchial mucus more effectively than several common modern cough syrups sold over the counter. Number 19. Horehound, made into a bitter candy that every grandmother kept in a glass jar or a tin box for coughs, sore throats, and winter bronchitis. Horehound contains merobian, a diterpene compound that triggers bronchial secretion and expectoration, clearing the lungs naturally. Number 18. Plantain leaf, not the banana. The common weed growing right now in every yard, every sidewalk crack, every abandoned lot. Chewed and applied directly to bee stings, splinters, insect bites, and open wounds. Allantoin and aucubin pull infection out and accelerate tissue repair. Studies at the University of Maryland confirm wound closure up to 40% faster with regular application. Number 17. Chamomile. Every single Depression-era household had a tin of dried chamomile in the kitchen for anxiety, insomnia, colic in infants, menstrual cramps in women. The compound apigenin binds to the same brain receptors as prescription benzodiazepines without any of the dependency or withdrawal problems. Number 16. Thyme. Mothers boiled thyme leaves in pots of water and had sick children breathe the rising steam during whooping cough outbreaks that swept through schools. Thymol, the main active compound, now used in pharmaceutical mouthwashes and in respiratory drugs, kills bacteria directly and loosens thick phlegm. Number 15. Sage, gargled as a hot tea for strep throat and painful tonsillitis. A study from Switzerland, published in 2006, found that sage spray was just as effective as chlorhexidine against the oral bacteria that cause throat infections. Number 14. Willow bark, the original aspirin. Grandmothers boiled white willow bark for headaches, joint pain, and fevers long before the pharmaceutical industry existed. Bayer isolated salicin from willow in the 1800s and called it acetyl salicylic acid. The German company patented what had been free medicine for nearly 2,000 years. Number 13. Dandelion root, not a weed. A powerful liver tonic, roasted and brewed as a coffee substitute during wartime rationing, when real coffee beans were impossible to buy. Trexicum compounds stimulate bile flow and liver enzyme activity. Modern hepatology research now confirms measurable improvements in liver function markers. Number 12. Slippery elm bark, ground into a fine powder, then mixed with hot water to form a soothing, mucilaginous healing gruel. Used for severe sore throats, stomach ulcers, diarrhea, and even as infant nutrition when mother's milk was not available. The plant mucilage literally coats and heals inflamed tissue lining the digestive tract. Still listed as an official medicine in the United States Pharmacopoeia today. Most modern American doctors have never heard of it. Number 11. Witch hazel. Distilled by Native American tribes for centuries before European settlers ever arrived. Depression era, mothers kept a bottle in every bathroom cabinet. For bruises, insect bites, hemorrhoids, skin irritation, diaper rash. Its natural tannins constrict blood vessels and reduce inflammation within minutes. One of the only traditional herbal remedies the Food and Drug Administration officially recognizes as a regulated drug. We are going to pause right here. The next 10 remedies, the ones used most often during the Depression, the ones that saved the most American lives, are waiting for you in the second half of this video. Because number 10 was declared officially obsolete by the American Medical Association in 1942, and then quietly rediscovered by Harvard researchers nearly 70 years later. And number 1 is almost certainly sitting in your kitchen spice rack right now as you watch this. Number 10. Plain baking soda. When indigestion, heartburn, insect stings, skin rashes, and bee stings struck the household, every single Depression kitchen had a bright orange box of sodium bicarbonate within arm's reach. A level teaspoon stirred into a glass of water for acid reflux. A thick paste applied directly to itchy rashes. A full cup poured into the bath for exhausted, aching feet at the end of a long workday. Pharmaceutical antacids now charge $10 at the drugstore for the exact same active ingredient that costs less than $1 in a box at the grocery store. Number 9. Epsom salt baths. Magnesium sulfate crystals, pure and simple. Mothers drew steaming hot baths for aching limbs, sore muscles, sprained ankles, and the deep tiredness that came after 12-hour workdays. Your skin absorbs magnesium directly, right through the surface. Modern sports medicine now prescribes this exact practice for high-performance athletic recovery, sold back to the public at $40 per, quote, specialty bath product. Number 8. Blackstrap molasses with iron. Blackstrap molasses, the darkest and most concentrated grade, was handed to anemic children and to pregnant mothers by the tablespoon, right off the wooden kitchen spoon. Naturally rich in iron, calcium, potassium, and magnesium, in a form the body actually recognizes and absorbs. Depression era, doctors themselves recommended it when meat was scarce and liver was even scarcer. Today, it remains one of the most bioavailable sources of dietary iron from plant foods available anywhere outside of animal liver. Number 7. Apple cider vinegar. 1 tablespoon stirred into a full glass of water, taken about 15 minutes before each meal. For digestion, for blood sugar balance, for sustained energy through the afternoon slump. A study from Arizona State University, published in 2004, confirmed that vinegar before a meal lowers blood glucose spikes after that meal by up to 34% in adults with insulin resistance. Your grandmother knew that. Your doctor probably does not. Number 6. Raw garlic. Raw garlic cloves, chopped fine and soaked into vinegar and honey. Applied warm as a poultice to infected wounds. Eaten daily by the spoonful during the darkest months of flu season. Louis Pasteur himself documented garlic's antibacterial properties in the year 1858, long before penicillin existed as a thought. Modern research now confirms that allicin, the active sulfur compound in fresh garlic, kills Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, and even several strains that have become fully resistant to modern antibiotics. Number 5. Castor oil packs for constipation, sore muscles, chest congestion, and stubborn colds. Applied as a warm poultice on the abdomen, on the chest, behind the knees of feverish children. Edgar Cayce, one of the most famous American healers of the early 20th century, called it the Palma Christi, the hand of Christ. Depression era. Mothers simply called it a miracle. University of Texas research now confirms that ricinoleic acid, the active compound in castor oil, triggers a measurable immune response when absorbed through the skin. Number 4. Ginger root. For nausea, pregnancy sickness, motion sickness, stubborn winter colds, and raw, painful sore throats. A small piece of fresh ginger, about the size of the tip of your thumb, has been shown in multiple independent clinical studies to outperform several pharmaceutical medications that are currently used to treat nausea. The major pharmaceutical company that makes your prescription pill for nausea knows this fact perfectly well. They simply do not advertise it. Number 3. Onion and honey cough syrup. Thinly sliced raw onion. Pure, raw, unheated honey poured over the slices. Left to steep in a glass jar overnight on the kitchen counter. The thick, golden juice extracted by morning was given by the spoonful for coughs and for bronchitis. Honey's antimicrobial properties are extensively documented by the World Health Organization itself. Onion quercetin is a natural antihistamine that calms the irritated airway. A study at Pennsylvania State University, published in 2007, found that honey was more effective than dextromethorphan, the main ingredient in most commercial cough syrups, for nighttime cough in children. Number 2. The mustard plaster. Ground yellow mustard seed, plain white flour, and warm water, mixed into a thick paste, spread evenly on a soft cotton cloth, placed directly on the chest of the sick family member, for pneumonia, for bronchitis, for the deep, rattling chest congestion that modern antibiotics sometimes still cannot fully clear. The heat and the compound allyl, isothiocyanate, penetrates the skin, stimulate circulation in the underlying tissue, and break up thick mucus trapped in the lungs. Used successfully in American field hospitals all the way through both the First and the Second World Wars. Quietly discontinued from mainstream medicine the moment antibiotics became commercially profitable. And, number 1, cayenne pepper. 1 level teaspoon of cayenne pepper, stirred into a glass of hot water, administered at the very first sign of a suspected heart attack. Dr. John Christopher, a 20th century American master herbalist, claimed he never lost a single patient to cardiac arrest who was still able to swallow a glass of cayenne water. Capsaicin, the active compound that makes cayenne hot, triggers immediate vasodilation and strongly stimulates systemic circulation throughout the entire body. Emergency rooms do not teach this practice because the medical system cannot bill for it. Cheap. Available. Sitting quietly in your spice cabinet right now as you listen to this, the one single remedy most likely to already be in your kitchen is also the one single remedy most likely to save your life. 25 remedies. Every last one of them confirmed now by modern peer-reviewed research. Every last one of them available for less than the cost of a single pharmaceutical copay at the drugstore. Every last one of them carefully and systematically excluded from the American medical school curriculum over the last 60 years. Not because they do not work, because they work, and because no pharmaceutical company can patent a plant. Depression era. Americans survived without hospitals, without antibiotics, without most of what we consider absolutely essential today in modern medicine. They survived because they carried generations of protocols with them. Exact preparation, exact dose, exact timing, passed carefully from grandmother to mother to daughter to granddaughter. When that chain finally broke, somewhere between the end of the Second World War and the rise of the modern pharmaceutical age, the knowledge itself did not actually disappear. It was quietly, methodically, deliberately pushed into obscurity by an industry that profits enormously from illness and almost nothing from health. But what is buried is not lost. Every single one of these 25 remedies has been documented, verified, cross-referenced, and preserved. Protocols that match exactly what your grandmother knew, backed now by what modern clinical science has finally confirmed. The Green Vault contains the full and exact protocols for the 6 most common chronic conditions these traditional remedies were originally used to treat. Pages of preparation instructions, complete dosage tables by age and body weight, what to combine safely, what to strictly avoid, and when to stop everything and see a conventional doctor instead. Everything that got lost the moment this ancient knowledge stopped being free and accessible to ordinary families. This knowledge did not disappear. It was suppressed, ignored, actively erased for decades, but it still lives quietly and persistently in every single video on this channel. If this video made any real difference for you today, please subscribe and share it with someone you know who genuinely needs this knowledge in their life. Every single share keeps alive what the pharmaceutical industry specifically wanted forgotten. The next video opens a forgotten chapter all its own. The 3 specific plants that Victorian doctors confidently used to treat what we now call depression, long before the word antidepressant had ever been spoken in any medical office. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Now picture this one last time. The small farmhouse just outside Tulsa. The year is still 1931. The onion, the honey, the clean cotton cloth folded on the table. That family did not have the internet. They did not have a doctor within 40 miles. They did not have a pharmacy anywhere nearby. What they had, quietly and completely, was the unbroken chain of women passing down what worked, generation after generation, through war, famine, and plague. That chain broke somewhere inside your own lifetime, and you are watching this video right now because some honest part of you senses that loss and wants the chain back. The knowledge is still here. It always was here. It has simply been waiting patiently for someone like you to come looking for it. The first step is subscribing to this channel. The second step is the link below this video. The third step is sharing this with one person in your life who genuinely needs to hear it, before the algorithm quietly buries it all over again. That is precisely how a broken chain gets rebuilt. This knowledge does not belong to the industry. It belongs to you. Subscribe to Green Vault so that no one, anywhere, forgets it ever again.